Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Don't Tell Me How to Fan. My name is Josh Albrecht. With me, as always, is my good pal, John Taylor. John, how we doing?
I'm doing great. Celebrating the mayor has been elected another term, but we won't get into that just yet.
Oh, okay.
Unless I don't know, you want to. I
No,
don't know.
I
I'm
don't.
kind of screwing up the whole plan we just discussed.
Yeah, we just laid out the whole thing. No, that's fine.
Yeah.
No, let's start baseball, John. First of all, we got a lot to talk about. To talk about. We're going to start with the Brew Crew, get into some basketball stuff because who would have thought there'd be a ton of basketball news?
In the last week, the finals ended, the draft happened, and free agency started, or deadline extensions.
Yeah.
Day is today, so
It's insane. But we care about the Milwaukee Brewers. We've been talking about them. A lot of things have happened since then, including the historic pitchers duel, right? That we all wanted with Skeens and the Miz.
Yeah.
And God, did it feel good that we came out on the winning end of that?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, absolutely. What? Skeens pitched 4 innings, gave
Four
up 4 runs.
hits. Yeah, four hits, 4 runs. Yeah.
Yeah. That's besides his innings like limits, or what do they call that in baseball when they're monitoring their innings? Pitch count.
Yeah.
Pitch count.
I was like, isn't it based on pitchers? Not in it.
It's pitches, but sometimes they'll just flat out say you're going to go 2 innings and whatever it is what it is.
That's true.
Anyways, his rookie year, he did like a 2-inning stretch. This was the shortest. We are the first team that really got to Skeens. And what I think really got to him was he realized there's a new big dog in town, and his name is Jacob Misiorowski.
Yeah, and he came to play.
He sure did.
See what I did there? Is it?
He sure. I mean, maybe I didn't. What
I came to play.
The Miz, the theme song, which he trademarked. Yeah, he came out to that.
I know. That's just like a song.
Did you go to that game, or were you not able to?
No, I wasn't able to. I had to work. I had some of the shirt nerds, the Roosevelt's crew. This was actually the weekend of my meetup where people come from all over the country and we hang out and we have a good time. So I really had to buckle down because Thursday, Friday, Saturday were going to be a mess. Yeah. So I wasn't able to go Wednesday. I know we had some friends there.
Yeah.
And it was a sellout.
Good news is 43,000 Wisconsin
residents
found time to make it to the stadium on a Wednesday afternoon. That is unreal special and good for Brewers fans. I mean, it would be so easy as Brewers fans of a small market to go, who cares? This guy's going to be here until his contract runs out. 6 years, by the way. So there's plenty of time to keep seeing him go. But I just mean, it's so easy to get jaded with our talent when we know at the end of the road, they're going to go win a World Series for the Dodgers or the Yankees. Maybe, but it would be easy to
based
immediately
on the history.
History. Yeah. And also Marquez prioritization of summer of fun.
Yes.
Which we don't have to relitigate every time we talk about it, but I want to first and foremost give the props to the Brewers faithful. That is an electric moment. That is truly, you're talking about probably 2 pitchers who I'm knocking on all the wood, as long as their arms don't fail them, which we discussed last episode, as long as their arms stay healthy, especially because they're both in the NL Central, that is going to be like an electric matchup for the next 5 years at minimum. But you talk about Jacob Misiorowski in this start, because this was his 3rd start, right? In his 3rd start, he punched 8 strikeouts, or how many strikeouts? I should have looked it up. So this was a few days away.
It was a while ago. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
but he killed it. He was exactly what we were hoping it would be. Right. See, the way that I saw this game going, John, was I thought it was going to be a pitcher's duel until the bullpens, and then people were going to look at the box score and they were going to be like, wow, 6-5, and not realize like it was all runs in the bullpen. But that's not what happened.
Nope. Yeah, they put up 4 against Skeens in the 2nd inning, and then he came back with some electric stuff in the 3rd. I mean, Skeens is a dog. Don't get me wrong. It is funny to pile on him, but the next time they meet, Skeens could carve up our offense really easily. It's one of those things. Aaron Rodgers always would talk about this with Tom Brady. He's like, I don't play Tom. We're on the same side of the ball. And that's the same thing with pitching. It's not like, the DH has made it so you're not actually in the box staring at the guy you're pitching against. So but I was correct. Yeah, he went 5 innings pitched, 2 hits, 0 earned runs, 8 strikes, and 2 walks. So a lot of Misiorowski's concern when he was in the minor leagues was, could he get his control figured out? And boy has he. And it is some really, really incredible stuff. He's the first. He was like the first pitcher in modern baseball to throw like 11 straight innings without a hit, and then obviously he got a couple hits this game, but he has more wins than he does hits against him. Pretty
Incredible.
Good. Pretty good.
Incredible.
And it's been really awesome to see the major leagues give him love. They flexed that game, and obviously that had a lot to do with the fact that it was Skeens versus Misiorowski. But the league is on notice. They are very excited that he's up, and they know he's something special. I was saying Major League Baseball, the TV, MLB TV, and the MLB account has just been absolutely giving him so many flowers. Pitching Ninja, who is like on X and probably Blue Sky, he just like shows how nasty, like the nastiest pitches.
Yeah,
like
I love
he's
that account.
losing his mind. And then all the other like hilarious, there's like Pitchcast and a bunch of other sites that measure like arm angle, release, where they're throwing, how they're throwing. And it's an absolute thing of beauty. So it's just incredible. And this was a segment on Major League, I keep calling it Major League, MLB TV, the Major League Baseball
television.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's just weird to call it MLB. It seems, I guess it's NBA TV and NFL Network. Network seems more formal. Anywho, they're doing pieces where they're just straight up saying like, have the Brewers ever had a prospect as good as Jacob Misiorowski debut? And it's like, you have to go all the way back to like maybe like Teddy Higuera. Like Ben Sheets became something worth watching. There's been other guys, but the answer is absolutely, yeah. It's just no.
He did, like in his first 2 starts, he did something that hasn't been done in the modern era of baseball. It's not even about have the Brewers ever had it. He's doing things that have never been done with any team in his first start. Like, yeah, he's doing great. Of course, the Brewers haven't had something like that. So I just loved, it was a good feeling to know that it wasn't that the Brewers won 6-5 after 6 innings of no-hit baseball from either teams, that they got to Skeens. That was awesome. You still got to see the Miz throw out some heat. It was great. It was a great game to watch. And then the Rockies came to town.
Yep.
Which, worst team in baseball, right?
Yep.
Take advantage. And they did.
Yeah, they won their first 2 games.
Until game 3, and then they blew it. They blew the game today.
Yeah.
And I'm upset about it because we were starting to creep back, get some momentum, come after the Cubs.
Yeah.
I don't like, I don't know.
I know it's tough to see. It's tough to be up 2-0 and then watch the bullpen give it away, especially as late in the game as they did. I forget who exactly was pitching. Full disclosure, I only caught parts of the game in the game recap. I was driving out to the coast and checking my phone at Stock Bingo traffic. So yeah, it was Orlando Arcia, former Brewer. Who did he hit on? Who was pitching? Anyways.
Yeah, I don't know, because it went into extras, and then that was like they went through like, I don't know, a bunch of dudes. It doesn't matter. The point is that you had the opportunity, right? To, like, McGill gave up a run. Like, I don't know. It just was.
Oh yeah, McGill allowed the tying homer and then surrendered. Yeah. So yeah, Chad Patrick allowed 4 hits and fanned 8 and 5 scoreless innings, and then McGill allowed the tying homer. Yeah, in the 9th, which I didn't see, which is upsetting. But this is the life of the closer, especially he
also went 2 innings. He had 2 innings.
Yeah. So
because then he went in the 10th too.
This is them trying to stretch stuff out. You're really kind of playing with fire. We've been really running. Murph has been spamming the Mears Uribe McGill. Yeah, Uribe gave up one of the hits too that got it to be 2-1. So it's they got back in, and that's just the way it goes sometimes. As frustrating as it is. But we haven't lost a series since the Braves. We split with the Cubs, which turned out that they did. It's very obvious they didn't want to do a doubleheader against Freddie Peralta and Jacob Misiorowski, which is hilarious. But yeah, I know we want to sweep beatable teams, but it's baseball. Really ultimately all you can do is just win series, and they secured the first 2. And I think if we would have split this, would Murph maybe pulled different levers? Undoubtedly so, but you got to feel good about the ground we made up, right? You love standings watch. How far back are we still?
2 games.
So we closed a half game over the series. You wish it would have been more, but at the end of the day, like we were 7.5. And I said, Josh, if we get up to 8 after this Cardinal series, are we sellers? And now it's like, absolutely not.
You're right there.
We are absolutely not. Misiorowski has breathed life into this team. Caleb Durbin seems to be finding his bat.
Yeah.
Joey Ortiz is absolutely on fire this last month.
I was at the game on Saturday.
Yeah.
When dude was crushing. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, Joey O's found it. Also, then you were watching a pitching masterclass too. We gotta circle back to all the dorks that are prospect hugging too hard, and we're like, why do we trade for Quinn Priester? This is like the lineman for the Packers. When are Wisconsin sports fans going to realize that if the Brewers pitching staff thinks there's a diamond in the rough somewhere in a different organization, it's worth, they're going to go pluck it? Because I'm looking at a pitch map, and I wish I could share stuff live to the screen. I don't remember. It was a pitch movement. Maybe it was Baseball Savant. They posted their sinker, cutter, slider, and curveball. And no joke, it's like a dot map. Every single one of these pitches are grouped like if you were trying to like shoot a dart. It is absolutely incredible. He has been so unbelievable. And in 5 innings, in his first 5 innings on Saturday, you watched it. He got 8 strikeouts, 1 hit, and no runs. And his movement is nasty on some of these pitches. And he's throwing a pretty nice mix between the sinker, cutter, and the slider. So cutters are basically, for the layman, fastballs with too much movement.
A little bit of movement. Yep.
Yeah. But his curveball is dropping crazy. I mean, the movement on all these pitches are pretty wild. So, we are in an interesting spot with the pitching staff because we traded Aaron Savali, and I'm not convinced that
who wanted out.
Yeah. I'm not convinced that they could still be looking to trade pitchers. My buddy Andrew, who does Cruising for a Bruisin', I shout him out often. We talk baseball all the time in our DMs. He's mentioned to me, he's like, does Quintana make this team? Does another team buy high on Quintana and just we sell him? Because listen, reports are after today, which I have some fun news. After 82 pitches in Jacksonville today, Brandon Woodruff touched 95.4, which is that velo we haven't seen since training camp. And so basically, barring any unforeseen circumstances, like he's going to be back on the roster in time against our games against Miami, which if you will allow me to vamp, I'll check the schedule a little bit more.
Yeah.
But, it's coming. I mean, it's not a matter of,
there's definitely a possibility that,
we're talking next Friday, we could see Woodruff on the mound.
Yeah, that's pretty
or at least
wild.
with the team. Maybe I assume that Brandon Woodruff, they're not going to bring him back from the bullpen. I don't know what that plan looks like. I'm assuming if they think Woodruff can go, he's going to go. He's going to start. Yeah, it's kind of like the same reason why
maybe a short start, but he'll start
for sure. Yeah, kind of like they did with DL Hall, right? They were piggybacking DL Hall and Quentin Priester for a little while to much success. So I could definitely see something like that. But it's like you look at that. There's reports Robert Gasser could be back with the team by like August. So some positive news there. So there's been some good injury news. There's been some very bad injury news as well.
I was gonna say we gotta talk about it. But man, I first of all, I definitely feel for Garrett Mitchell. I feel for him. Like this is brutal. But while making a rehab stint in AAA, working his way back up, he injures his hand, right? I believe it was his hand. He injures himself, and now they don't even know. He's going to be back out, and it's just like, I don't know. It honestly reminded me a lot of like Jabari Parker, to where it was like, this guy could have been something, but the injury bug was just there, and it has been for a long time with Mitchell. And I'm just like, how long do you wait? Like if Mitchell ended up on a different team and then he had success on that team, I don't even think I would feel bad as a Brewers fan, because I'd be like, yep, he stays here. He had that injury bug and he always would have. Like, I'm losing faith in the idea that he's ever going to be able to truly turn something on.
Yeah. Sadly, I don't believe that it will be with the Brewers anymore at this point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think even if he could be back by the end of the year, like Why rock the boat with what's going on? You know, Blake Perkins is on his way back. He's going to fill the Daz Cameron role. Isaac Collins has been playing out of his mind offensively, and defensively he's fine. You know, there's been a few slip ups. I think really what you're seeing is a guy who, it's kind of like Andrew Monasterio in the flex position or a utility guy, like in big spots or he's serviceable to be out. But I think you see a guy play game in and game out, and some of his deficiencies in terms of like defensive prowess are showing. And I think that's what's going on right now. I think you bring Blake back. You got an interesting outfield, way more diverse, you know, than you would expect. If Joey Ortiz's power is back and Caleb Durbin, you know, they're finding hits at the end of the lineup. I know yesterday, Bryce Terang was on another really long hit streak, so he's found his bat. Yelly's not too far behind. Him coming off as a DH has been super helpful. So,
all right, I'm just gonna put this out there now.
Put it out there.
We did just play the Rockies,
right?
Okay. So a lot of hits, in a series against the Rockies. Okay,
yeah,
does not mean now that the Rockies are gone that will continue.
Mm-hmm.
You know, baseball is all about the ebbs and flows. So I'm not necessarily going to sit here and expect, you know, those type of numbers to continue, but I do hope so. I hope that the trajectory remains the same and that these guys stay hot and continue being hot, because they have been longer than just that series.
Yep.
But I feel like a lot of times people will be like, man, look at these guys. They've been on fire. And they say it right after, you know, they play a bunch of crappy teams. So I still worry about our offense.
Yeah.
If they could find a way to trade one of these pitchers and get a bat, do it. Absolutely do it. It's not, I don't care how hot some of these guys are right now. Like, they still need offense. Bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So who knows? Maybe the Rockies are willing to sell McMahon. There's, you know, I know there's some people who think his hitting has been spotty outside of the Rockies stadium, which, you know, in higher elevation, he can hit the balls. All I know is AmFam is a pretty ball or a hitter friendly park. And, you know, I don't claim to know everything about Ryan McMahon's career, slugging percentage, you know, how he hits against, but what I will say is, it's more established. His streakiness is still pretty productive compared to what Caleb Durbin can offer you in third base. And you just have to kind of play what's hot and ride that line. You know, right now as it stands, do I think they could would I feel nervous going into the second half of the season if we don't trade for another bat? Yeah, I don't. I would be nervous. I think like if they want to keep our pitching a strength and really just double down on like, we're going to have to find a way to win 1-0 games. But the problem is we haven't really been winning a ton of 1-0 games.
No, we have not.
You know, in our last, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games, we have not scored less than 4 runs. So the bats have been exploding. You know, even in the game we lost 5-4. It was a close one, but we put up 4 runs.
Yep.
You know, years ago. So it's interesting. I think could they scrap it out and could pitching dominate us? Yes. But then I come back to the same thing I talk about every postseason. Like, pitching, margin of error for pitching shrinks, and you need your hitters to hit, and that gets increasingly more difficult with a lineup that we have. So that's just the way it is, you know.
Yep.
The last little bit of injury news that's kind of interesting is the Brewers are calling up third baseman and catcher Anthony Siegler to the MLB per sources. That was reported earlier this afternoon at about 5:22 my time. So I guess it was early evening. I think it could just mean William Contreras, earnest finger rest. It's been broken. He's been playing through it. I wonder if they're now going, oh shit, we're through this long enough that potentially we need to actually get him the rest. I think Haas has shown that he can catch 4 pitchers. He called the Misiorowski game. I think he is a quality big league backup. And so while you miss Contreras' bat, we got to get him healthy. That's the other thing. Like, he can't be quite literally limping into the playoffs with a broken finger and have us expect to make any sort of noise.
I'm not even, you're looking further ahead. I need him to be able and ready to go in clutch spots to get us into the playoffs. I need to be healthy for that. I'm not even worried about the playoffs yet. I'm worried about a strong September push to get me there. So, yeah, I agree. It's probably that they realize that, and they need the bread. They're saying, get him the help he needs now. Let's go.
Yep.
So,
yeah,
we'll see. You know, I am excited to see the push. I do agree with you that it is crazy how much energy the Miz has brought back to this team on the field and off the field. It really seems like the city's kind of gotten back into it. The fan base has gotten back into it. The team has gotten back into it. There's something more to care about, which was kind of the CC vibe, you know, because the dude only pitches, you know, once a week. But like,
it's appointment television. Yeah.
Knowing that day's coming, it really helps. And so hopefully they can keep rallying behind that.
Yeah.
And make a big push.
Yeah, I just think like for the first time, I mean, I just in a very different way. I guess I was gonna say the first time in a long time, but it's not true. But it's like for me as a Brewers fan, especially not living in Milwaukee, not really feeling the energy, you know, watching 162 baseball games can get pretty challenging. And, you know, I don't succeed at watching all of them all the time. I will say, like, Peralta's been dealing. I'll always watch a Peralta game. He is our ace right now, whether we like it or not. Obviously, Misiorowski is incredible and truly is appointment television, to your point. And I would say even like I'm so excited to see Quentin Priester pitch. It's just one of those things where it's been so incredible to see. Chad Patrick, I fear, is maybe coming back down to earth, and I think he's probably going to be the odd man out. But even that was carrying me where I was like, but I still look at like Tobias Myers is still in the minor leagues. Logan Henderson, a guy who was pitching just as good as Chad Patrick, because he had more options, was the short man on the on the totem pole. We got a lot of guys coming back. You tell me Woodruff comes back, and now I'm interested in 4 guys. And I would love for, you know, I think obviously Chad Pat is going to get squeezed well before Quintana does, but maybe they trade Quintana. And then I'm literally looking at 1 through 5 going, I can't wait to watch any of these guys pitch, you know? And this is such a like stupid thought I had, and it makes me sound so dumb, or maybe it's like so obvious, but, you know, just watching Misiorowski and Skeens pitch, is there another sport where the defense is so offensive? You know what I mean? Like, fundamentally, pitching is a defensive position.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's so aggressive in how it's delivered. It's so entertaining to watch. Like I really was like, and like I said, it's like not this like mind shattering idea, but I was like, truly, when people say baseball is boring, I'm like, I just don't think you appreciate the right elements of it. Because when you watch
flashy.
Yeah. I mean, watching a pitcher pitch is like watching a team pick up a point guard at 94 feet from start to finish. You know what I mean? It's like that level of aggression, and teams don't really do that. So I just am like, I was trying to think like, you know, because I don't watch a ton of soccer. I'm not the biggest hockey guy. I'm like, defensively, like, what does that feel like? And it's like, I don't know if there is one. I think that's what's so incredible about it. It really is.
I would kind of compare it, if anything, if I had to find one, kind of to like football. I would go football, and it's like looking at the defensive side of the ball for an NFL team, but without sacks. Because the sacks are sexy, right? Like that's something that'll get people out of their chairs and screaming. Yeah. But if it's just a ton of 3-and-out football, where it's just nope, got to throw it away. Run 2 yards, stop them. Like,
you know, maybe
boring stuff.
Maybe it is more specific than even just your defense, and I do like it. And this is a stupid litigation at all, but thank you for following me on this. It probably just is pass rush. Pass rush on everything on defense is reactionary except for pass rush, where you're like, we are going to get to that quarterback. That is the mission. We are coming. It's the only spot on offense too where they're reacting to a move the defense is doing. So maybe it's even more specific than that. You talk about like the secondary being the outfield. You talk about linebackers being the infield, charging at balls, covering the flats. This is a really unnecessary. But I was just saying, like, I think it's so funny to me when people, and maybe it's just the more I fall in love with baseball, the more I fall in love with that chess match of like such an aggressive defensive thing. And like I said, this isn't groundbreaking, and I probably sound like an idiot, but it's just like watching Skeens and Misiorowski. It's like, I mean, you were just watching 2 guys be like, hey, enjoy your terrible day. And it didn't happen for Skeens, but he's been doing it enough. You know, he was the NL Rookie of the Year.
Well, the other thing too, the reason why that was such a beautiful game and moment was because it was a chess match. You don't get those all the time. A lot of times like obviously teams usually when they go in the series, if they can, they try to, it's our ace versus your ace. But a lot of times those type of matchups can't happen until like the postseason when you have the ability, everyone has rest, and you can really set up your rotation to be how you want it in that series. If your ace is finishing up a game against a different team, even if you're going to start a new series against that team's ace, well, your ace just went yesterday, so they can't. That matchup's not going to happen. So that was why this moment, beyond just the historic, battle between these two Goliaths, was special because the timing had to be right too.
Yeah,
and that made it cool.
Did you hear Murphy's quote right before Misiorowski took the mound? He was just like, "Hey, we know that this is a big deal, but remember, you're not bigger than this organization. This is about the Milwaukee Brewers." Everyone talks about Misiorowski's mindset that he is like a cool customer. He like loves to pitch, but is like not obsessed with baseball in a way that like he can't shake off the hardships. And so, he's an interesting guy. It's weird. He just, I know he's young, but this is like the first time in a long time where I'm like fawning over an athlete, and I'm just like, fuck, I am getting so old. It's like, it's tough.
Yeah.
Because especially in baseball, like, dude, Jackson Churio was in the minor leagues at what, 19? It's like we're almost double his age.
Dude, every time they're up to bat, it shows their date of birth. It shows their MLB debut, and I'm like, okay, not only am I older than them, I was like,
we were in high school when they were
15 when they were born.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh my God.
Yeah. You and I are living in that magical 3 weeks where we're the same age. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But it was very exciting. What the Brewers have been doing is exciting. What they had the opportunity to keep doing is exciting. If they can really, they're making every series count, or at least interesting. But now they need to focus up. So
they got tomorrow off, and then they have a 3-game series Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday against the Mets, all at 4:10. Which I would like the record to say, I think it should be a crime, punishable by death, to schedule a series with no day games. What are we doing here?
It's also a weird series in general because usually Thursdays are off days. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday series is very interesting.
Well, I think it's because they were just rounding out a home trip, and then starting on the 4th of July, also weird. We're playing a night game against the Marlins, and then we go 3 there, and then 3 against the Dodgers, 3 against Washington. So two tougher teams, 2 not so tough teams. The Mets are 1.5 games behind Philadelphia, so they're definitely no slouches. You think like they're 48 and 47, we're 47 and 37, so they got a game up on us just by games played. So they're kind of chomping at the heels of the Phillies, just like we are to the Cubs. So they're going to be hungry. So, but they're facing Peralta, Misiorowski, and I think it would be Priester. So you talk about stepping with your best foot forward. It's Quintana. I mean, Jose Quintana played for the Mets, so he's going to want to come back. As long as he doesn't give us the Nestor Cortez special and give up like.
I was going to say,
yeah. That's the other thing too. It's like Cortez might return. I don't know if he ever pitches another inning for the Brewers. To be honest, he could be dealt. He could be dealt maybe.
Ship him off. Yeah.
It's like you got to trade sometimes from a position of strength, and I truly believe there's too many pitchers. There's too many starting caliber pitchers, like to the point where it's like if you wanted to maybe get rid of a starting pitcher and try to find more diverse talent in terms of middle relief, I would maybe consider that. Because right now, I think Mears, Koenig, and Uribe and McGill are 4 really, really exciting prospects. I think DL Hall in long relief. Ashby, I still don't know what they want to do with Ashby. I feel like he's kind of like Mitchell, where they're like, okay, you're healthy, so what do we do with you now? You got to think like last year at the start of the season, they were talking about him being in starting rotation. He throws like a 96 mile an hour fastball as a lefty. You think like it's crazy that his stuff just hasn't been able to break the rotation, especially with his injury history. So we'll see. Trade deadline's not for a little while yet. It looks seemingly like I don't know. Does every team still get an all-star? Is that still a MLB rule?
I don't know that is a thing anymore.
I mean, if it's not, I don't know if we're going to have an all-star, I don't know how
I don't think
big or
so.
fair that is. But we'll see. So we might have a lot of time to think about trading candidates post all-star break, or is it pre all-star? I don't know, dude.
The all-star game doesn't matter anymore. So who cares?
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a really great point. I just like the few accolades the Brewers do get.
Absolutely. When they're deserved.
Yeah.
But also the game is whatever. It's a nothing burger. So
yeah.
Okay. That's your Brewers update. We got a lot of basketball to talk about, which is weird. Before we get into what's happening with the Milwaukee Bucks, I got to quickly give my points here because we didn't get to do this since they ended. But the NBA Finals. So OKC beat the Pacers in 7. Everyone very excited for Game 7. I will tell you, Game 7s are much sexier when I think that the matchup is sexy. And so everyone was like really excited about this Game 7. And I was like, I feel like a lot of that is just you thinking about past Game 7s, not analyzing this one. That could just be me. But I definitely didn't like live up to it. And everyone is just saying, well, it's because Halliburton went down. And I hate, first of all, I'm very excited that the Pacers lost. It was great. Awesome. Didn't want them to win. They didn't win. Great. But I hate that that's now the asterisk. That's the caveat of why was, well, Halliburton got hurt in the first quarter. So, that just was a crushing blow for the Pacers, but then they were never going to be able to come back and win, and blah, 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 blah. You don't know that. It's in OKC. Like, you have no idea if that would have been,
that game was going to be tough. That was going to be tough for the Pacers, even if Halliburton did play.
Exactly.
Because the Thunder played really well at home. They can't run a half-court offense. And at home, with the energy up, they were running all over the floor. I don't know. I wanted the Thunder to win. Asterisk or not, I kind of made the joke at the start of the episode. Like, hell, we're already on a free agency tomorrow. Like, the asterisk lasts for about 4 days, and then we're already moving on. So it's like, dude, the NBA does a terrible job of celebrating its champions.
So bad.
It is like despicable that they don't even get more than a week to even really relish in their accomplishments. You know what I mean? Because Summer League is so close on the heels. So it's like, there's been a lot of conversations about, the fact that 3 major stars tore their Achilles or ACLs during the finals. Was it all Achilles? Either way. Just disgusting season-ending injuries at the end of the playoff runs that are going to keep, Lillard, Tatum, and Halliburton out for most of the season. Dame's the only one that could maybe come back towards the end of it because his injury was, the playoffs are so long. This was at the start of May? He's already like a month and a half into recovery because of when that injury took place. So,
yeah.
I
mean, in general, though, that was the main thing. I just want to get it out there. Needed to talk about that. The finals were, they went to 7. And so that was the thing. But I was more relieved than anything that just I didn't have to hear about more Pacers bull for the rest of my life. Because it definitely feels like there's a rivalry with them and the Bucks. Like, that's undeniable. And we are not winning that rivalry.
Not right now.
No.
Definitely could next year.
Yes. But not right now.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a shame to see Lillard go down. There is this interesting talking point where the East is more gettable than it's ever been with Halliburton being out, Tatum being out. I mean, you could make the claim for Lillard, but we still have the best player in the Eastern Conference. So when you talk about, like, where does Giannis go? Who has the assets? A big thing is a lot of people were looking at the Rockets, and they made a massive trade for Kevin Durant right around the finals, the day of the finals, right? That got announced last Sunday. So it's just like, they're losing targets. I mean, we got Shams Charania still reporting during the NBA draft that Giannis will closely be observing the situation. Weeks after, everyone on every other major pundit has been like, all the teams are realizing they're growing more and more skeptical that he would
so
even be
irritating.
Observing what? And I get it. They don't want him to like rest on their laurels, but it's like they're going to try to retain the guys that can retain. They understand their key pieces. They're going to try to improve on the margins. Like, these injuries, as terrible as they are, you see the Celtics already selling off pieces. They can't live in this second apron with the contracts they signed last year. They basically signed a bunch of contracts knowing, hey, in a year, we're going to be heavily penalized for these contracts, but they signed White. They brought back Drew. They got Kristaps. They re-signed Howard. You know what I mean? There's like a ton of contracts, and everyone was going, how are these guys? And it's because the league, the CBA basically says now you got 1 year to go all in with these guys. And if you don't, it's going to be almost impossible to do anything else about it. And that's why you see Drew traded back to the Portland Trailblazers. Why you see Kristaps traded. I forget where he got traded to. That's how long it's been. But Kristaps got traded. Was it the Grizzlies?
Maybe.
Anyways, he's been traded. They're going to look to shed a bunch of other salary, I'm sure, because if you can't win, why would you ever pay the tax? If you can't win, why would you be in the second apron where you can't aggregate salaries? So they got a lot of work to do. It's like to the point where it's like they could look to move Jaylen Brown. You know, there was reports last year before he signed his deal that they were saying, like, if he doesn't get an all-star, why would they keep him? You know what I mean? Like, you know, so very interesting. I think it's like the Bucks situation, I think, becomes more, even if Giannis wanted to stay and was like, against my better judgment, I'm going to stay, it's seeming to make more and more sense for him to stay. Just for everyone involved, especially after today.
Yes.
Which, you want to break that beautiful news?
Yes. Bobby Portis has not officially signed, right? It did say has the intention to sign a 3-year, $44 million deal to stay with the Milwaukee Bucks. I just had the opportunity on a different show. I believe we talked about this last episode to talk with Bobby Portis through the Josh and Around podcast that I do with Visit Milwaukee. And I'm not going to lie to you. It was a little like we didn't talk a ton of ball. It was more just about what do you love about Milwaukee, that kind of thing. But it was kind of hard in the back of my mind being like, man, I hope you're still here when we air this, you know, because I think a lot of people didn't know how that was going to go. And now 3 years, 44 mil. And my first thought was, how do we feel about this? Is this is what we wanted, right? Is this what we wanted? This is what we wanted, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Are you asking officially?
I'm asking your opinion.
Yeah. I think yes, for two different reasons. The first reason being Point Giannis proved to benefit from a more agile and athletic big in Bobby Portis. This Bobby is not a plug and play drop defender. And I think the more the Bucks realize this, the more with now that Chris Middleton's not on the team, they're just infinitely more switchable, right? So Bobby's value becomes increasingly more valuable as a guy who can probably switch up and guard from 5 to 4 and the 3, right? So that's a big deal. The other big deal is at this rate, this contract is pretty movable also.
Yeah.
It also, when you look at other extensions that happened around the league, Naz Reid signed for significantly more in like the 20-25 plus range. And there was a very real concern that would be the new comp for Bobby. And it's like, oh, well, there's just no way that's going to happen, you know? So when you look at what we were able to get him at, the production, even if he's been down in a few stats, he was a 6-man finalist for 2 years. He is absolutely good enough to start on most NBA teams as their 5 or their, stretch 4. So like, that is not surprising. And I think at this point, it's the Brook Lopez in Milwaukee ship has sailed, and you can't let Brook and Bobby go, period. And I think if Bobby were to sign for maybe somewhere, if somebody wanted to give him that Naz Reid 20-25 million extension, whatever that ended up being, that would have crucified the Bucks, and they would have been stuck scrambling to overpay for Brook, a very seasoned, let's say, Brook Lopez, because I love Brook. He just can't be a 35 plus minute drop center in this league anymore. He fought extinction twice now in terms of moving to LA and reinventing his game.
Did pretty good.
And reinventing his game, really developing his 3-ball and just like mastering the drop. I mean, having like arguably one of the greatest, off help defender, as in Giannis, also makes his life a lot easier. Don't get me wrong, but help side defender. But the fact of the matter is you couldn't lose both of them and just put Giannis the 5. He doesn't want to play there. He's been very vocal about that. I think you keep Bobby, you keep Sims, and you just really pitch to Giannis. Yeah, man, you're going to have to eat. You're going to have to eat defensively. You're going to have to step up and really guard the paint. You won't have to maybe, hit the paint bodying up the fives like Brooke does, but he's going to have to be more involved in really defending the paint and then finding rebounds elsewhere. And the way we do that is just by getting significantly more athletic. And I think the fact that Sims is already in the building, hopefully you can get him on a pretty minimum contract. But the last little part I just want to answer this with you about is shit. I had a little well, how does that make you feel? And I'll keep searching for the thing I was going to tell you about.
Yeah. Well, so I also saw some of the news of, the other signings, and it definitely seemed like money-wise, this was fine. This was a fine deal for the Bucks. You're keeping a familiar face, a fan favorite, that I thought. But then another part of me was like, he's still that fan favorite, right? Like around the city, right? Bobby, he has made his name known in the city. But on the court, I was like, are fans still to the point in which they want Bobby on this team, or are they ready to move on from Bobby? And so that was one of the things I was curious about.
Yeah.
From a fan perspective of, is this 3-year deal with Bobby something that, we truly want? But
well, it's funny. I got brunch here in Portland with a friend of mine who lives in Milwaukee. She moved there with her husband 5 years ago. She lives in Bayview. Lovely person. Shout out Kai. She'll never listen to this, and that's okay. But her husband really likes the Bucks. We were talking about it, and she was like, "Yeah, James was texting me saying like this is like a really important day. Like we have to keep Bobby." She kind of asked me that same question. She said like, "Why is it so important that Bobby Portis stays in Milwaukee?" And I was like, truthfully, and this is what I'll tell you right now. This is one of the worst free agent classes the NBA has had in a long time. And really, the best path forward is holding on to your guys with your bird rights or goodwill from being in the building, a la Bobby signing this extension, more so than the quality of the player per se. Like, good on the Bucks for getting this contract done, and even better by Bobby for signing it. You know what I mean? It really does make it so the Bucks can make the most compelling case to keep Giannis around, which obviously is mission number
1, 2, and 3.
1, 2, and 3, and fourth would be winning the Larry O'Brien.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like that's really where we're
crazy
at.
As that is, yeah.
And so keeping Bobby just makes the floor of this team a lot taller. Does he get you to the championship? I don't know, but this is a gap year in my mind always. And with all the injuries around the league, you just run this team back. This team was the 5th seed. Some of the better teams are worse. The Cavs, the Cavs traded for Zach LaVine and traded Isaac Okoro, which seems crazy that LaVine got traded for that. Or no, I'm sorry. Lonzo Ball got traded. My apologies. Ball got traded. And he's not the guy he was with his knees and everything, but you just look at like the Cavs are going to be looking to get under the tax. They've been paying the tax for a long time and they don't have much to show for it. So the East is as gettable as it's ever been. They're going to keep calling it the Eastern Conference and they're not wrong. But ultimately this is the first move, right? We needed Bobby to resign. I don't know what's going to happen with Brooke. Honestly, 5 minutes before we started recording this podcast, Shams Charania broke the news that DeAndre Ayton and the Trailblazers are finalizing a buyout so he can just hit free agency. We're talking about needing a center. It seems pretty obvious he's going to be a Laker, but you don't know. Maybe the Bucks can do something. I think like if you could get DeAndre Ayton, you let Brooke leave. I think more teams would be high on Brooke Lopez as like an elite defender than they are on Ayton's youth and just like underdeveloped and underappreciated talent. He wouldn't be my first choice typically, but if you're telling me that all of a sudden we're going into a season with DeAndre Ayton and Bobby Portis as your 5s, I go, oh shit, that is like a significantly more athletic core. So
yeah,
there's some right pieces. I found the tweet. This is what I wanted to say. If we assume that $14.7 million starting salary for Portis, so basically what happened is it's a 3-year extension, but they really only added 2 more years. So it's like 14.7 is from this year, and then he gets 15 million on the 2 years on top. That's what makes it 44 million. If we assume a 14.7 starting salary for Portis, Milwaukee is at 163.5 million for 9 players. They are $29.7 million beneath the first apron. So that would mean there's plenty of room to use the 14 million full mid-level exception, a 5.1 biannual exception, and to add a salary in a trade. Any of those moves would hard cap them at the first apron, which I think if they're going to go all in for Giannis, they're going to hard cap themselves at the apron with the moves they make. But they also still have a trade exception from the Kuzma deal. So basically anybody under 7.2 million can be added using that trade exception too. So there's a bunch of mechanisms, levers that can be pulled to add talent to this. Ryan Rollins was officially extended his qualifying offer to come back, and he's injured. So you have to assume that he's probably going to take that.
Yeah.
They only gave him that 1 year extension, and I think they were going to be ready to move on. KPJ informed the team yesterday that he'd be declining that free his option. And so he'll be hitting free agency. I go back and forth on KPJ. I think if we can get him for kind of where you got him now, 3 to 4 million, bring him back. There's a lot of teams that are not in love with KPJ because of what he did, his personal life. And I don't love it either. And I will say, I don't know if the way he ended the playoff run, that beautiful stretch towards the end of the season, I don't know if teams are going to value that as highly as we do. So maybe you can bring him back. I think really what the Bucks ultimately, what Bucks fans tomorrow, what we need to see is Gary Trent Jr. re-signed with the Milwaukee Bucks and an extension being finalized for AJ Green. I think that is truly the two biggest pieces that need to come out of free agency, is trying to hold on to your shooting guard depth, period.
Sure.
And filling in other stuff where you can. I don't know how realistic that is. The markets are different. Sam Merrill just got a pretty wild extension in Cleveland. And you can look at some other contracts and you could say, like, shouldn't Gary Trent Jr. be making more than them? The answer is yes. But when you factor in like bird rights and a bunch of other things, teams just can't offer that kind of money because he's not in their system already, So it's interesting. I'm not the biggest in the know when it comes to cap stuff, but everything I read and see is pointing at, we needed to bring Bobby back. It's probably time to move on from Brook, unless you can get him on like a vet min, which seems unlikely because a lot of teams are interested in him. And we have to extend. We have to keep AJ Green a buck, and we should really. Gary Trent Jr. showed that he honestly probably should be starting again. You know what I mean? That especially with the way he played at the end of the year.
So the message I'm getting from you is the Bobby Portis extension is good, not because Bobby is great and we need Bobby, but because there's really not better options out there for who is available that the Bucks could even go after to replace Bobby.
Yeah. And this could be a beautiful segue, but I'll say this. Bobby Portis is the devil you know, which is better than the devil you don't.
Sure.
Does that land for you at all?
No.
Damn it. That's Karrion Kross's like catchphrase.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know what? The episode went long enough. We don't have to go into the WWE.
Yeah, it was a crappy pay-per-view. I was disappointed in the whole thing.
Yeah. Normally, I'd like to tell you the things that I liked about it that can maybe get you off the edge. I feel like that's usually how we talk about wrestling. I'm like, well, this is kind of fun. This is kind of fun. I'll say this. It's cool Cargill won because I think it subtly brings back. It subtly brings back the Naomi stuff. She's missed Money in the Bank. So that is going to collide. And I think that's interesting and some resolution.
Okay.
Cody was clearly going to win.
Yep.
I don't know that Sammy becomes a 99 overall in 2K25 or all the wrestling video games when he's in Saudi Arabia. So of course he was going to win that match. I think Karrion probably needed to win it to really capitalize on all the heat. Street match was whatever. Rhea still fucking rules. And then what else? Oh, Cena. Yeah. I mean, how many more matches can we watch Seth Rollins ruin it for CM Punk? I would have much preferred it just be a one-on-one and CM Punk just out wrestles him. And also the U.S. title, just more bloodline. They're just going back to that some more too. So,
all that was garbage. It was boring. It was dumb. And I'm glad it's over.
Punkonomics ruled. Punkonomics ruled on SmackDown. If you didn't watch the Punkonomics promo, it's worth watching.
Yeah,
CM Punk is the best on the mic. Period. I love him. I'm a big CM Punk fan. I'm wearing my Randy Orton shirt right now, actually.
Yeah, was also
no shot he was going to win, but that was probably the best match of the night, I think.
Yeah, I agree, but yeah, same thing. Knowing the outcome was too predictable, I hate that. I hate when that's the case.
Yeah,
and that's what it was. And then the whole thing, kind of beyond that, was just a nothing burger. So, okay, that was it. Boom, did it. Love it.
Yeah.
All right. Biggest takeaway for next time. Brewers, keep turning up the heat. Keep that going. And I would love to see, as we inch closer, I would love to see those standings get even tighter.
Yep.
Keep that momentum up. And and we'll see where everything's at.
Yep. And then just wish me a happy birthday on July 3rd, listeners.
Yeah, and then reach out to John specifically.
No, tag Josh too.
No, I will find you, because I will find the messages.
That hurts. That really hurts, Josh.
No, I don't want this to be about me. My day happened. This is about John. Wish John a happy birthday. I'll go and I'll like your post. I'll find it.
Wow.
And I'll be like, thank you for
listeners.
Thank you for reaching out and wishing John a happy birthday.
Yep.
Yes, happy birthday, pal. We will not talk before your next birthday.
Not on this medium.
Yes, correct. Not in front of you listeners. So I hope you have a happy birthday, but I also wish you a happy birthday on your birthday, which everyone else should do as well.
Bless you.
And also make sure to tune in next time, because we are not done yet.